Okay, so this video we're going to be going over measuring your tools using the tool probe that's equipped on all the Haas lathes that we have here at the Tech. So first thing you're going to want to make sure you do is have your tools mounted in there in the tool number pockets that you want, so they all correspond to your program. So the first thing you're going to want to do after you have that done is to bring your tool probe down. For the older Haas slant lathes, all you have to do is just kind of give this a little tug and it'll come down. This machine is a mechanical, so what you have to do is you have to go into MDI, you got to hit program conversation, and you got to bounce all the way over to the probe page. And once you do that, you hit right enter. Then right here it asks you to hit F1 to lower it. Make sure nothing's in the way, make sure the tool's away. If you have a part in there, it has to be a shorter part, otherwise it's going to hit your part and you're going to have to take your part out. So we're going to hit F1 and it pops itself down automatically. So now we have our tool probe down, we're ready to start measuring our tools. So we're going to hit hand jog. We got tool number 1 in there, so we're going to bring that over. Once we get close, we'll slow it down. In this case, we're going to do the X first. It doesn't matter, you can do the X or the Z. So once you get it close, I'd say within 50 thousandths, 100 thousandths, you want to make sure you're in hand jog, in the 1,000 increment, and we're just going to hold that button down. And you notice numbers of the machine's moving, and it comes down, and once it hits, it automatically stops and inputs a value. Okay, so for a normal tool, that is done in the X direction. So now we have to do the Z. So we're still in the X. You want to back it off of the tool, off the probe, bring it around to the side of the tool probe, bring it in, we're close. Now here you don't have to even hit the Z. Once you hit the Z button, you know we're moving in the Z, it automatically puts that in the Z value. And you can hold that button down until it beeps. Once it beeps, the machine stops, and then you can let go of the button. Now we're going to back that tool off. And now we're going to do another tool. We're going to do a tool number 2, let's say. What you do not want to do is you do not want to do a tool change right here. Sure, this tool will clear, but what happens if that rotates all the way around and you have a drill that comes around and it hits that? It's a very expensive part to repair. So what we want to do is hand jog away. It only takes a second. Go home, and we're going to do MDI T2. Here it says we have to do a hand jog. Some machines will, some machines won't. So we'll satisfy that requirement and do our tool change. So we have tool number 2. We'll go back into hand jog. Okay, we'll do our Z first on this one. Like I said, it doesn't matter. 1,000 increment. Knows it's on tool 2. Hold it down. Puts that value in right there. Okay, that's the X. Now we're going to do, I'm sorry, that was the Z. Now we're going to do the X. Hold our X button down. Has that value in it right away. All right. So I'm going to show you how to do a drill. Once again, we're going to clear our tool. And we happen to have a drill in, I believe, pocket number 7, so we're going to do a tool change to 7. Okay? We're going to hand jog down. Because our tool was so long, it had the parameter for the live center, we had to bring it in closer. So once again, we're going to bring it in. Now the Z face for our drill is still the point. We're going to go to our 1,000 increment. See the machine, the control automatically went to tool number 7. We're going to hit Z. There you go. Now we have to do our X. Now, we can't hardly bump off the center of the drill. It wouldn't be very accurate. So what we're going to do is you obviously know what size drill you have. In this case, we have a 1/2-inch drill. So we're going to bump off the side of one of the cutting flutes, and then we're going to tell the machine how big our drill is. So the one thing you want to make sure here is that you're actually hitting your probe with one of the cutting flutes. If we were way out here and you hit the clearance angle, it's going to give you a false reading. So we're going to move it in there. So I know right there, and you can even bring it down a little close just to make sure. So it looks like we're good. We're in the 1,000 increment. We're going to hit X. Okay, so there it beeps. Okay. If you notice right here, it says enter a value /F2 for X offset the center line. And that's what we have. We have a drill. We want to have the machine figure out how far it is to the center line. So all you have to do is hit F2. And right away, it calculates the distance from the center of that tool to that probe. So that drill now would drill in the center of your part, which is where you're going to want to have it drilled on a lathe. So we're going to back this off. So there, now for our program here, we had 3 tools that we're going to measure. There's a little bit more information you need to put in, especially for the inserted tools. We're going to go back up to tool 1. All right, radius. The radius is the tool nose radius of your part. That tool nose radius right there that you're cutting with. Most of our tools here at the school are 31 thousandths, so you're just going to go 0.031. Okay. The other important information you need to have on there is your tip. The tip is your tip direction. And you can get this out of your manuals, but this is important to have for your cutter comp. For the right-handed tool that we're using right there, you're going to want a 3. But like I say, revert back to your manual. And then if you keep on hitting the right arrow key, you want to look for your wear page. And like for our general rules, if our tip nose is 31 thousandths, we want to leave approximately that much for a finish pass so we can calibrate our tools. The tool probes are very accurate, but you want to get in the habit of doing this so your machine can cut extremely accurate. So in this case, if we left that 30 thousandths in there and we cut with tool number 1, it's going to leave 30 thousandths extra. More than likely, it's going to be 28 to 32 thousandths off, and you're going to adjust it accordingly. So if we make our first cut and it measures 28 thousandths, I'm going to come back to this. I'm going to go minus 0.02. I'm sorry, I hit the wrong button. 028, 28 thousandths, that I was off. And I'm going to hit that. I'm going to rerun that cycle with that tool, and it's going to cut right on. So we want to go back to tool number 2. It's also a 31 thousandths radius. Okay. That one is also a tool 3. You only need the tip direction and the radius for tools that you're using cutter comp on. So drills, taps, drill taps, grooving tools, threading tools, you don't need that. If it's in there, it's not going to matter. And here too, if it's the first time you're using it, you're going to want to put about a 30 thousandths on there. So now, all the tools that we're using know where they are according to the probe. Now we have to tell the machine where our part is. So we're going to go ahead and put our tool probe away. Once again, make sure everything's cleared out. Go back to MDI, hit program, conversation, F1, lower raise. So we're going to put our tool probe away. If you're in an older machine, you can actually just physically put it away. I have my part that we're going to be using. I'm going to mount it in there. So now on your offset page, for your work offsets, X, you always want to have to be 0. You never want your part 0, and the X is always the center of your part. So you never want to have a value in here. If you were to put a value in here, -1 inch, you just offset all your dimensions 1 inch. Generally not a good situation. Okay, but what we do need to have in our G54 when we use a probe is a value from the Z. And basically what that Z is, that value in the G54 is a relationship to that probe to your part. So now any tool that we measured the Z face off with our probe, we can use to calibrate our G54. So we're just going to hand jog. We're going to use our drill. Like I said, it doesn't matter which one you use, as long as the tool that you have measured. It doesn't even have to be a tool that's in your program. It just has to be a tool that was measured with the probe. Go to 1,000th increment. Okay, well, that's a little tight. We'll back it off. Okay, so there, that's just hanging on, just dragging our part. So now, back to your screen, hit your offset page, and then you want to hit Z-face measure, and it's going to put a value in there. Okay, and if you, once again, if you want to be really accurate, you have your tool or your paper, it was 5 thousandths, we're going to do minus 0.003. And that calculated for your paper. So in theory, that tip of that drill, if you moved it in 3 thousandths, would be right at Z0. So now you'd be ready to run if your program was in there. All your tools know where the face of the part is. The X diameter doesn't matter because you measured it with your probe, and the probe knows where the center of the part is. So all your tools are calculated. You have your offsets in there for make sure your parts come out the size, and you should be ready to go.